Your focus is your greatest resource. And what you give your focus to, what you give your attention to, is what you give your energy to. And what you give your energy to should come back to actually help you. What you give your energy to should raise your vibe. It should not leave you feeling drained. And if things that you give your attention to leave you feeling drained, you have to set boundaries with those things. So, what do you give your attention to? Do you give it to endless scrolling? Do you give it to junk food? Do you give it to things that fundamentally take from you and they don't give you anything? Of course, that's a poor exchange. So you would have to ask the question of, why do I continuously expose myself to this energy exchange? You see, your attention has constructive powers. What you give your energy to, what you give your attention to, all of this is going to have massive impacts on your state, on how you feel, on how you think, on how you perceive reality, on how you act, on the habits that you form. It's going to shape up your sense of self and your sense of reality. So you need to actually give your attention to the things that serve your development, that serve your well-being, that serve your clarity, that serve your self-actualization, that serve the raising of your consciousness, that serve keeping you healed, keeping you healthy, that basically keep you not being unconscious. So let's talk about this. Nowadays, there's a whole bunch of things that are designed to exploit us, to take our attention, to get us addicted. Things like junk food, social media, etc. All this is very carefully designed to create addiction, to exploit, and to basically steal energy, to take energy, without really giving much value back in return. Of course, some of these things can be fun for a bit, but fundamentally, they're designed to keep people coming back, and they cause sickness. So the value that you're getting isn't really there. You're just kind of making yourself sick. So essentially, your mind is actually being hijacked by forces that do not care about you. And you need to actually allow that to sink in for a little bit. Say it with me. My mind is being hijacked by forces that do not care about me. My mind is being hijacked by forces that want to use my attention and energy for their own benefit without giving me much in return. So it's essentially a distraction from yourself, and it's a form of avoidance and addiction, right? It's an emotional and psychological problem that we actually fall into when we're kind of stuck in those kinds of habits. And this kind of addiction of endlessly scrolling, of junk food, of being continuously robbed of your very precious life energy, this is actually fracturing your psyche. This is causing wounds, and this is kind of keeping you in states of sickness rather than states of wholeness, right? Get clear about that. This is keeping you in states of low vibe, low energy, low consciousness, survival, sickness. Right? So it's actually ruining your potential, and it's actually just kind of taking away your capacity to feel joy. It's currently raining. I'm getting a bit wet. So you have to actually question, where is this going to take you? Where is this pattern of giving your energy to BS? Where is it actually going to take you in life? And what's this going to do to things like your relationships, your career, your well-being, your health? What's this going to do to your mind? What's this going to do to your clarity? What's this going to do to your sense of meaning in life? What's this going to do for your self-actualization, for your self-transcendence? What's this going to do for your family, for your kids if you have kids? What's this going to do for, apply that to basically anything, right? It's going to destroy the quality of all of these things, especially if you do not set boundaries with them and learn how to carefully observe when your energy is being drained and just stolen from you versus when you're actually kind of getting something in return. So, right, you need to understand the modern context that we're in. It's basically just a fight for attention. It's a fight for energy, and, right, there's nothing really horrible about that. The problem is when the things that we give our energy and attention to is when they're not good for us. It's when they are fundamentally taking and exploiting and just kind of draining like a leech, versus when they're actually kind of giving something to you. So here I am on YouTube, right? I'll be very honest. Of course, I'm trying to get your attention, of course. But I actually care. I have this thing called a heart, so I want to give. I want to make sure that what you are giving your attention to, when you're giving it to me, actually comes back to help you. I want to make sure it's actually of value to you. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the solution to this. We actually have to recognize that we, as human beings, form addictions to cope with pain. And that our environment is exploiting our pain, our boredom, our sadness, our grief, our guilt, our anger, our stress, our frustration. And we form addictions to actually avoid all those things inside of us. We form addictions to basically avoid our shadow and to remain unconscious so that we don't have to make our unconscious conscious. We don't have to actually light up the parts of our psyche that are less than pretty and less than healthy. Right? So we need to actually see this as a trauma response. It's a coping mechanism that we have. And we're going to be stuck in that until we actually heal that part of our psyche and until we learn how to craft an environment that's actually good for us. Because most of our environments are set up in a very unconscious way. We put our phone right next to our bed and we wake up and then we grab it and we have our junk food on the kitchen counter, etc. Our environments might not be set up to help us, to make us more conscious, to make us feel clear. And this is going to make this whole problem even harder to actually solve. So we actually need to recognize, once again, kind of going back to the core point here, that we are stuck in addiction. That we are addicts because we do not like to see ourselves. We do not like to take responsibility for the state of our own psyche and to actually heal. And instead, we're just kind of running away from that. So what state fuels your addiction and actions? This is really important. What's motivating you to do the thing that you're doing? The avoidance of boredom is motivating you to grab your phone. The avoidance of stress is motivating you to grab the cookie in the fridge or whatever. So what emotion, what state's driving you to do the thing that you're doing? And if the behavior is less than healthy, if it's a part of an addiction, you need to process that emotion. You need to learn how to feel that emotion, how to feel and integrate that part of you so that you do not remain stuck in that addiction kind of endlessly, kind of spinning around in circles, right? Spinning your wheels in the mud, not really getting anywhere. And practicing meditation, reading, nature, healthy food, exercise, stretching, taking care of your overall well-being, having good relationships in your life, doing meaningful work, right? Having a sense of purpose. All this stuff is actually very essential to your psyche being clear, and it's essential to your ability to self-actualize and actually be your full potential. It's essential to your ability to really be aligned with the life that actually serves you. And it's essential for your self-transcendence as well. It's essential for your fulfillment, and it's essential for really understanding what is true. It's essential for seeing reality clearly. Essentially, we're talking about getting out of survival mode. We're getting out of our survival psychology, our avoidance, our reactivity, our denial, our repression, our trauma. We need to get out of that, right, by shining awareness on it so that we can actually self-actualize and self-transcend and actually live a happy, fulfilling life that is aligned with truth. We can live a happy life that's actually enjoyable to participate in, and we can actually have a heart and actually care for people, for the world, for the environments that we exist in, for the kind of information that we give out there, right? When I make a video, I care about the information that I actually put out there. I have researched literally hundreds of books, so I'm making sure that my information is actually good quality information. A lot of people don't do that kind of shit. A lot of people just put out anything on social media to make a buck, right? So I really take this one into account. How am I interacting with the information ecosystem, right? What's my contribution to it? Am I poisoning the water or am I cleaning it so that people can actually drink from it? So you need to have boundaries with stimulation, right? We don't like boredom. Boredom is painful, right? We don't like it. We want to avoid that. You need to learn to love boredom. You need to learn to embrace your own boredom. You need to learn how to have boundaries with stimulation, how to not go on this thing when you're waiting for the light to turn green, right? How to not go on this thing when you don't have anything to do for the next 20 seconds or 1 minute. How to just enjoy your actual experience of life without needing to escape it constantly through this thing. It's really important. So you need to have genuine boundaries with stimulation and actually commit to them. I'm not going to go on my phone for more than 20 minutes per day. I'm not going to scroll on my computer for an hour a day. I'm going to limit my technology use at 30 minutes today, right? And I'm not going to go over it. If there's no real purpose for my usage of the technology that's serving me, I'm going to cut it off, right? You get the point. You figure out something that works for you, right? So you also need to learn to relax into experiences without high amounts of stimulation and distraction. So usually when we don't have that kind of like stimulation, we can get very uncomfortable, right? Because now all that repressed stuff that we keep pushing away is able to come up. The repressed emotions, the hard questions that we don't really like to ask, the realizations that we don't really want to realize, right? They're life-changing things to process those emotions, to have those realizations, to ask those questions. They're very, very life-changing. They're pulling you into a higher version of yourself when you actually begin to embrace them. They're not out to get you. So you need to learn how to relax into the experience of boredom or anxiety or sadness or grief. You need to learn how to ask the difficult question that really fuels you to make a necessary change. Right? Learning to relax into each and every experience. Learning, again, to get out of survival mode and out of that pure reactivity mode, and learning how to embrace each experience as it is without needing to always pull yourself away from it. This is really going to help you quite a lot in life if you actually master this. I used to be very addicted to my phone when I was young. I'm not addicted to it at all anymore. I worked quite hard to get rid of that. Meditation, emotional processing, shadow work was all very, very important. Setting up a good environment was very important. Now, I don't really go on this thing. I'm using it right now just for my talking points, just so I have some bullet points, a rough outline to follow. I don't scroll on Instagram. I'm not checking my email every 10 minutes. I'm not checking my YouTube every 5 minutes. Right? I'm using it with intention. So that's it for this video. If you're interested in working one-to-one with me, you can apply to do so. Links in the pinned comment. Or you can check out my private community where I'm doing group coaching. That might be in the pinned comment, actually. I take that back. The one-to-one's in the description. The group coaching is in the pinned comment. Take it easy.